But when Barack Obama attacks the Chamber of Commerce, everybody outside the Washington city limits, those are the folks down the street that are trying to bring jobs to the community.
Yeah, they think the Lions Club. They think
exactly.
The little lion on the corner next to the gas station.
So do you agree with Pat? That's
I agree that it was not as smart what they did, but in the whole fungibility issue, if Tom Donahue gets some money from overseas in dues, and since it's all in one big pot, some of it goes to pay for ads for Republicans. That's the basic argument. Look, there's a much bigger argument they should have found their way to, which is this. Everybody works in this business, television, or any business that has electronics in it knows that the American worker is getting squeezed out. More and more robotics, more and more productivity, automation. It's good for the country, you could argue, but it's not so great for people looking for a job. And Democrats, who are the party of the regular person, ought to be making the case. The trouble with what's going on in our economy right now is when you have a recession, a lot of big corporations seize that, just like your pal Rahm Emanuel, sees the crisis as an opportunity to lay people off. So all across the country, every major corporation, wow, we got our chance now. Let's get rid of all the intermediate management. Let's get rid of all the sales force we don't need. Let's get rid of all that now. It's a good excuse to fire guys. Sorry we have to do this. These are tough times.
Right.
And it works. Or they bring in a consultant, a young kid who's 25 out of the B school, and he says, you got to fire all these people. Then the old guy running the company says, I hate to do it to you, Joe, but these kids are pretty smart, you know. And we got to get rid of it. So the Democrats could make a case that this globalization thing has been good generally for American competitiveness, but not so great for the working guy, and somebody's got to look out for him.
That is what's coming, Joe. This bill to put tariffs on the Chinese got something like 345 votes in the House. And the whole idea of economic nationalism, that corporations are betraying the country, these big manufacturing companies, by putting factories and jobs and technology in China, that is a coming issue. If the Democrats can split that off from the Republicans and leave the Republicans as the party, basically, of big companies moving jobs overseas, they got a winning hand.
You know, when I listened to Ed Schultz in the afternoon, I used to think he was a bit overheated. He's a bit passionate fellow, to say the least. I think he's right about this, and I listen to him every day. I go, you know, the labor argument of the working person has not been made by Barack Obama. No. I think he's too elitist. I think he's too intellectual about free trade. He doesn't hear this guy who just lost his job after 35 years. He worked hard and played by the rules, and he got dumped. And I see it all around Pennsylvania. I'll tell you, it's everywhere.
You just said something that's fascinating, that Barack Obama is an elitist.
When he talks about the economy.
I've heard some Democrats say, wait, take a closer look, because, you know, we'd heard that Barack Obama was a citizen of the world, that he has this remarkable story. But you look at most of his adult life, and I hear Democrats, pro-union Democrats, saying, okay, this guy taught law at University of Chicago. He went to Harvard Law School. He went to Columbia. He's a politician for 8 years. Yes, he was a community organizer, but he spent most of his adult life around the elites.
If you look at where I grew up in North Philly, this old row house neighborhood, it's now a black neighborhood. It was Irish, Polish, Jewish, and it still looks the same. It's run down a bit. And what's the big difference? My grandpa, Charlie Shields, could get on the subway with his cap on, his pea coat, and his lunch bucket, and go to the night shift 2 or 3 subway stops away to a real job. A real man's job, working tough job. We have to work in a factory. Those jobs don't exist. These young kids have a choice between working in a service job or the drug dealing. There are no opportunities like there used to be. And those working guy jobs that made you proud to come home sweaty and dirty aren't there anymore.
Let's dig down to Chris saying Barack Obama is an elitist.
Well, just don't carry it too far. I think he's well educated, obviously, and he takes these macroeconomic arguments which sound good in theory.
But he's disconnected
from the sweaty guy.
Is he disconnected from working class people?
On much of the economy, when the president speaks to it, he's flying at 35,000 feet on Air Force One.
Obama's problem is he is not rooted in middle America. Now, I'm going to bring up what he said out there in San Francisco when he said closed-door meeting with all the wine and cheese people. He said, I'm not connecting in Pennsylvania because these worlds pass these people by. They're rooted in all their bigotries against foreigners and against trade and all these things that their Bibles and their guns, and that's why they're not supporting me. And in a way, he was exactly right. And I think that down deep is what he sort of believes about Middle America. It's certainly the impression that Harvard has of Middle America. And I think it's why he can't commit.
I don't want to buy into any of that.
Wait, let me stop for a second, though, because you talked about San Francisco. This is fascinating.
Let's not beat up San Francisco.
Listen to this. No, this is what Barack Obama said. Listen, this is important. It's funny you said that. And it hasn't been picked up yet, but Barack Obama said this Saturday night in West Newton, Massachusetts. This is the President of the United States explaining to another group of fundraisers.
Tell us about West Newton, what it's like.
Why he's having problems. Quote, part of the reason that our politics seems so tough right now and facts and science and argument does not seem to be winning the day all the time is because we're hardwired not to always think clearly when we're scared. And this country is scared.
I think that's actually quite true.
That's true.
So it's the American people's fault.
No,
it's not Barack Obama's fault.
At some point, I'm going to kind of jump in here.
The President of the United States is saying he's having problems because Americans are not, quote, thinking clearly and they're scared.
I think it's, look,
I mean, seriously.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
It's always everybody else's fault but this guy.
No.
First of all, in Pennsylvania, Mika, and everybody knows this, people love their guns up there. It's the largest NRA membership in the country, well before there were bad economic times. In good times or bad, Pennsylvania is like their deer hunting. They just love the guns. Even the guys live in the cities. My Uncle Bill used to pack his bullets in the basement.
So you want them to think clearly up there?
No, I'm just saying they're not clinging to their guns because of bad economic times, and they've been religious since the beginning of the Pilgrims.
Right.
This idea that people are religious because of bad economic times. I didn't think the president was pandering there to these rich people in Russian Hill or what do they call it? Nob Hill, pandering to that crowd. That's what I think he was doing. He wasn't. You're saying he thought like that.
What about this Newton, Massachusetts crowd where the president's saying, I'm in trouble because people are scared and they're not thinking clearly. They don't like facts and science. The President of the United States and Americans don't like fact and science.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
No, I really think that you're not being fair.
I just read his quote.
Then I agree with it. I don't think people think clearly
people are scared,
when they're scared.
and they're not thinking straight.
Yeah.
You know, if this is what I love about Democrats.
But this is
no. Hold on. This is what I love about Democrats. Pat Buchanan, in 2008, the president wins, and it's the age of Aquarius, the fifth dimension singing when the moon is in the seventh star and Jupiter aligns with Mars, and peace will, rule the world. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. 2 years later, they vote him out. And Sonny, you know, Americans are scared. They don't like facts. They're not hardwired to like facts inside. They're just dumb. I heard this in 1994. We get elected, and the New York Times magazine piece, a week after we got elected, they went around and they found the angriest, whitest, most uneducated people in America and put it on the front page of the New York Times magazine, and they said, Pat, Americans are scared, they're confused, they're bitter, they're angry. Seriously, how long does this go? How long is this narrative going to continue?
But look, let me tell you, Peter Jennings said back in '94, Joe, the country threw a national tantrum. The country was in very tough shape in '92 and '94, and it's lost 6 million manufacturing jobs in the first decade of the 20th century under Bush II and under Barack Obama, and I don't think he understands why these jobs are leaving.
So, Chris, help me out here. So, when Democrats win, the Americans are enlightened and brilliant. When Republicans win, they're scared and stupid.
Look, it's not stupid. The fact is people are really worried that this is a reset button. They don't think it's this typical recession. It doesn't feel like 81, 82. It doesn't feel like another downturn that's going to whip right back up again.
Right.
We don't feel like we're on a roller coaster. We feel like we're on a downward slope to an abyss. That's what people are worried about. You call it scared. You can make fun of it. The fact is people are really worried. They are really worried
Chris,
right now about a trend line going down.
If there's one phrase that sums it up, they think they're losing the country they grew up in, and they're correct.
Well, I don't want to get into the cultural piece you're into here.
It's not only, it's economic and cultural and everything, Chris.
Okay.
Mika, what do you think?
I think this administration is an administration that's trying to do something that's very difficult.
What do you think?
They're trying to clean up the system, make more transparency, and special interests, and they're trying to work against and not with Wall Street, and as a result, politically, they may be sinking themselves. But they're also trying to call out the other side for not ponying up when they called for transparency.
You know, I think they're great.
I know, you don't. And you guys like to have, there was a great, thanks, that was fun to watch. Great echo chamber.
It's great. You know, hold on, I'm going to take you back to 2008.
Because if I acted like, if I started waving my arms, let me tell you something. The emails would come in about how unattractive I am. So I've got to stay here.
Barack Obama is president of the United States. 2 years later, Democrats don't win everything, and suddenly Americans are angry. They're not hardwired to understand facts and say, seriously, is this a skit on Saturday Night Live? You talk about an echo chamber? You have the nerve to talk about an echo chamber?
I don't know where to go with this. What do we do? We just listen to this?
No, we're going to serve the fifth dimension, Democrats, and dream it's 2008.
Chris,
yes.
stay with us.
Thank you for this. I need to listen more.
Come up.
It's very educational.
Come up and join us more often. Okay.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. We're going to get a first look next.
She's great.
I love when they go to the